So let's now dig into the difference between a group and a team, and in particular, what makes a team effective. So we have this model in our book about the distinction between groups and teams. So on the right here, we have the idea of work groups, and on the left, the idea of work teams. And they make the distinction across these four different factors. So in the first case, when we're looking at goals, if we're thinking about groups, they might share information. So if we think of a group as just some kind of ad hoc, random set of people that are coming together for maybe some shared purpose. So say, for example, you might have a group that come together on a particular shift that are doing things collectively, but not in a unified team. So whereas a team would probably have more of a long-standing work time together and be working collectively on shared goals. So in a work team, we have this collective performance where we're all collectively responsible for the performance of the team. Whereas in a work group, we might share information across to each other, but we're not actually responsible for that shared goal together. We also have this idea of synergy, which is the idea that the sum of something is more than the combination of its parts. So this is where we get synergistic effects like greater efficiency, greater ability to have output compared to individual work outputs. And so if we're thinking about a group, there's no real synergy that's involved because everyone's just doing their own thing and there's no coordination attached to what they're doing. And sometimes people can actually work to counter each other rather than to contribute to the overall team's goals. Whereas in a work team, we have these synergistic effects that happen. We also have differences in accountability. So in a work group, if we're just working in a group, we're only accountable for our own individual actions, whereas in a team, we're thinking about that we're accountable for our own actions as well as the actions for that team. And then we also have a distinction in terms of skills. So in a work group, it's going to be a bit more random because people haven't been brought together for a specific purpose. And so things are going to just be whatever they are. Whereas in a work team, we tend to try and develop a complementary set of skills so that there's a balance in the team that enables us to work together efficiently. So let's now dig into the idea of effectiveness in a team. And when we're thinking about effectiveness, we kind of need to define it in terms of the team. So in some teams, effectiveness is measured or regarded in terms of the output of the team. So have they achieved particular goals? Have they done certain things? Other teams are measured more in terms of the process of their work. So are they working collaboratively? Are they doing certain processes? So we need to be mindful when we're thinking about a team and managing that team. Well, what is it that we want to be thinking of when we think of effectiveness? Is it just about how fast they can do things or the actual goals that they're achieving? Or are there other things that we're looking for that will be the measure by which we regard this team to be working well and working effectively? And so we have this model where we're given these four different levels of team effect, four different groups of factors that contribute to team effectiveness. And I'm just going to go through each one in turn. So starting with this idea of the context of the team. So the team within its environment, what are the factors that influence how effective that team can be? So first of all, we start with the amount of resources that a team has. So if we've got a team that's been asked, so say if we're a small team within a larger organisation and we're expected to achieve some goal, our ability to achieve that goal is reduced if we don't have the resources to actually deliver that goal, right? So we might be asked to do something and we don't have enough people to do it, or we don't have enough money to do it, or we don't have the physical resources to actually achieve that goal. So we need to be sure that the team has the resources that it needs in order to achieve whatever it's being asked to do. We need to have a team that has a clear sense of who's doing what. So you may have had the experience of being in a team and then finding out that someone else is doing what you're meant to be doing, or not being sure of what you're meant to be doing yourself. So having leadership and structure that enables people to have a clear sense of who is doing what, and who is responsible for what within the team, will be a factor that contributes to the effectiveness of that team. Another thing that is important is a sense of trust within the team. This enables us to cooperate well together, and enables people to be more committed to the team. So in teams where there's low levels of trust, we don't have a lot of cooperation or a lot of commitment going on. And we also want to be having a team where the performance of the team and the reward system is oriented towards the team. So we need people to have that sense of accountability, both for their own individual actions as well as the actions of the team, and to be able to reinforce that team effort. So again, if we have a team where people are competing with each other within that team rather than collaborating or helping each other or working collaboratively in some way, then our team is going to be sort of pulling apart rather than working together. And if we have performance evaluations and reward systems that are not holding people to account at the team level, and are not rewarding the team at a team level, then our ability to cultivate that team is going to be limited. So then we move on to some of the composition aspects. So this looks at who is actually in the team, and things about them. So first of all, we want to have a range of skills, knowledge, and abilities. And the research that's been done on this has indicated that we need to have this blend of different people. So some with good technical knowledge, some with problem-solving ability, some with decision-making ability, and some with interpersonal skills. And if we're lacking in any one of these, it really diminishes the effectiveness of the team. And so making sure that we have a sense that we have this blend of skills and abilities in the team can help make it more effective. We also have personality factors, and we're going to be dealing with personality in another module. But generally speaking, the book draws our attention to these three personality constructs. So the first one being conscientiousness, which is people's ability to deliver on time and do good work. So the degree to which they feel that that's important. People's openness to experience. So this is a measure of personality that looks at how open they are to new experiences, as opposed to being resistant to trying new things or doing new things. And agreeableness is someone's how kind of nice, I don't want to use the word nice, but disagreeableness is people who are quite cantankerous and resistant to other people. So as you can imagine, this limits their willingness to work with others and to be flexible to others in the group, in the work team. So we want to try and minimize the presence of disagreeableness in favour of agreeableness in the personality profiles in a team. There's also the different roles that work within a team. And so we'll just turn to this next figure that shows us the model that they've come up with around the different roles that might exist within a team, and having, so similar to the idea that we just looked at around having this blend of different technical skills and abilities in a team, we want to try and have a good blend, and ideally have somebody wearing at least these different hats, right? So if we've only got 5 people, then some people might have to wear more than one hat, so to speak. But so you can have a look at these at this list. It's fairly straightforward. But having a team where different people are performing these roles, so this may not be in an official sense, but that these things are happening within the team, is going to increase our team effectiveness. So I'll let you have a dig into that, and have a think about which hats or which roles do you often find yourself in, which roles do you enjoy the most, and any teams that you work in or have worked in, what do you think might have been some of the key roles that were being performed and some of the ones that were absent, and what were the consequences of the absence of people not performing that kind of role within a team? We also have these factors of diversity. Now, this is an interesting one because the research indicates that while diversity is good in general and sort of at this macro level where we want to have a sense of diversity and the existence of diversity because it contributes to performance overall in the organisation, the research suggests that at a team level, diversity is actually in some ways detrimental to the performance of a team. It tends to be human nature that we like to work with people who are like us. And so given that there's a drive and an increasing interest in increasing the diversity within teams, this means that both as managers and as team members, this really requires us to build and increase our levels of understanding, empathy, tolerance, and communication. And so being aware of this is important both as a team member and a manager, and thinking about how do we build this within our team, these skills. The size of the team makes a difference in terms of the team's effectiveness. And the book talks about a general number between about 5 to 7 or 5 to 9 is generally ideal in terms of a team, in terms of its effectiveness, generally speaking, in terms of its ability to get the job done, and balancing out the efficiencies of the coordination that happens with the efficiencies of the communication lag that can sometimes happen. And so this general sort of rule of thumb of the idea of we want the smallest number of people who can actually accomplish the task is the best number for the team. And so depending on the task, we might need to scale that in terms of how many people are going to be necessary in order to actually deliver and to make that team effective. Member flexibility is listed in the chart in the book, but they don't actually talk about it in the text, and I'm not sure why. But as you can imagine, this is the idea that the more flexible your team members are, the more effective your team can be. So if you've got people who are quite inflexible and like to kind of just be like, no, this is my job and this is what I do and I'm not going to budge, that's not going to contribute much to the effectiveness of the team, which needs to be adaptable sometimes. And flexibility also it comes in when people's ability to do other people's jobs for them. So if somebody's away sick or needs to be doing something else, the ability for other people to step in and make sure that work continues to be done in that other person's absence is important to the effectiveness of that team. And we also just have member preference. So this is the idea that some people prefer to work in teams, some don't. So if you've got someone in a team who doesn't like working on teams, prefers to work on their own, that can reduce the effectiveness of your team because you've got someone who's kind of not working collaboratively in that way. We then move into the actual work design. So this is where we're thinking about the way in which the work gets done within the team. So these are some of the factors that can contribute to the team effectiveness from a work design perspective. First of all, the team's level of autonomy. So can this team actually set their own goals and work practices? Or is it very rigid and they're told what they have to do and what their goals are? The level of autonomy, so the sense that the team can actually make their own decisions, will contribute to its effectiveness. Also, the ability to have a variety of skills. So if you're in a team where you're doing the same thing day in, day out, and the team is doing the same thing day in, day out, that's not going to contribute very much to the team's effectiveness. So having this balance of being able to do new things and try new things through the work day or the work week or even the work year will enable the team to be more effective. We also want to be able to complete a whole or an identifiable task. So this means rather than just kind of doing one thing and then you don't know what happens to it after that, having that sense of completion where we kind of go, yep, we do this thing and we're responsible for this thing, can contribute to team effectiveness. And then also doing things that actually matter. So having a sense that this work that we're doing has some significance for somebody actually contributes to the effectiveness of the team as well. And so then our last set of factors that contribute to the effectiveness of the team are processes that sit within the team. So the things that have been shown to actually contribute to a team's effectiveness include the team having a common purpose, right? So as you can imagine, having a strong sense of this is where we're going and why is a contributor to the effectiveness of that team. Having specific goals, so knowing what are we trying to achieve here? What are we trying to get to in terms of our accomplishments? Team efficacy. So efficacy is another word for a sense that you can do something, or you might think of it as confidence. So the sense that this team is able to achieve what it's trying to do contributes to its effectiveness as well. Conflict in a managed way. So as we looked at last week, some conflict is beneficial, and the research has found that relational conflict tends to be never good, never useful in terms of the effectiveness of the team, but some task conflict can help stimulate discussion and improve things in a team. So having a little bit of task conflict can actually be a good thing and can contribute to the effectiveness of the team. And then we also want to minimize this idea of social loafing. So this is our freeloaders in the group. You've probably had experiences in class where you've had to do group assignments or something, or maybe you've had work experiences where there's that one slacker who doesn't seem to do anything, and it really drags the team down. So the less that we have these freeloaders in the team, then we're going to be minimizing its impact on our effectiveness as a team. And so then as managers, when we're thinking about all these different factors and how we might be able to shape the team's behaviour and try and encourage it to be effective, there's sort of three areas that we can think of in terms of this working. So we want to be selecting the right people. So this means we're hiring for people who are going to be good team members and hiring for this good balance in the factors that we've looked at. We can train, so how do we actually improve aspects of our team if we think that it needs a boost in a particular area? Maybe we identify that we don't have people who are in the particularly innovative role in our team, and so we want to be training up our team in terms of innovation in that regards. And then how do we reward in our team both individuals and the team itself, and maintain that balance between rewarding individuals so that their individual accomplishments and their contribution to the team is recognised, but also being able to reward the team in a way that makes the team feel like they've achieved and accomplished something together. So our next video will be our last one, where we tie off and look at some of these modern issues, which includes how do we manage global teams and where do teams not become what we want? So having a look at that as well.